Conrad and the Hilton Foundations. I now have the privilege to invite the panelists to come and have their seats as we prepare to listen to them. The first on my list is Sister Jane, who is the Associate Vice President of Program Operation and Head of Catholic Sisters, Conrad and Hilton Foundation. Sister Jane, shall we welcome her with a good round of applause? Thank you, thank you. Today you are doing well. Continue clapping for her until she sits. Thank you. The next person is our own sister, Sister Nina. Sister Nina. She's the Deputy Director of the Holy See Press Office, Dicastery for Communication. Shall we clap for her as she takes her seat? We also have our own brother, Dr. Peter Montien Vincenchai, who is the Secretary General of SIGNIS World, to come and join the panelists here. I also have the privilege to invite Sister Adelaide to resume the other seat there. And the last but not the least is Pamela. Pamela, you are the next accused. So now listen to Sister Jane.
Yes. Okay. Good morning, my brothers and sisters. I'm delighted to be with you today as we dialogue and continue listening to each other. And this morning, I would like to focus on prophetic witness in storytelling and amplifying the voices of Catholic sisters in public square. I come from the Conrad N. Hilton Foundation, an organization that was established in 1944 by a faith-filled entrepreneur who started the Hilton hotels globally. And you will hear his story as I continue to weave it within this conversation. Over the past few days, we have explored how communication and media shape our lives and mission. Their challenges, opportunities, best practices, and implications for spiritual life, society, and the common good. I want to express gratitude to all the speakers for your insightful, focused dialogues that weave experiences and call us to be attentive to the gospel values. Our dialogue this morning focuses on two projects, the Pentecost project implemented by the Dicastery for Communication. This project focuses on networks that trains and training for sisters and amplifying the voices of Catholic sisters. And the Wisdom Calls, a project implemented by SIGNIS. I will let Sister Nina and Dr. Peter discuss these ins and outs of this project. Personally, I would like to reflect on a subject that is so close to my heart, not only as someone privileged to work to accompany Catholic sisters around the world through the Conrad N. Hilton Foundation, but also as someone who has witnessed the extraordinary power of stories to reveal God's presence in places where the world often sees only suffering. in my conversation this morning, I will focus on storytelling and amplifying the voices of Catholic sisters in the public square as a gospel imperative. Building off these 5 key points, I will be focusing on communication as God's relationship with humanity, communication as a bridge, communication to provide hope, and communication to center those in the margins, and communication as an act of love. I begin a communication as God's relationship with humanity. And we did hear this relationship across spectrums of various speakers. The title of our conversation today bears 2 important keywords: Pentecost and wisdom calls. Wisdom calls contains a beautiful assumption, that wisdom has a voice. Perhaps the deeper question is whether anyone is listening. Wisdom anchors discernment. Good communicators discern both the message and its impact on those who hear that message. Jesus is our example, our authentic communicator. He remains our model, and his stories continue to light our way in the Gospels. From the beginning of Scripture, God chooses to reveal himself through communication. Creation itself begins with a spoken word. God said, "Let there be," and so it was. Later, the Gospel of John opens with those profound words: "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." Each of us as communicators bear a powerful tool, and our tool is the Word. It could be art, it could be journalism, it could be any form of communication. Communication, therefore, is not simply the transmission of information. It is woven into God's relationship with humanity. It creates, reveals, calls, and gives life. 2 scriptural stories illustrate this fact. The angel greeted Mary and said, "You are the favored by the Lord. The Lord is with you." And that dialogue, that communication, changes the history of humankind. The news of the angel delivered to Mary was not easy, but it was easy because of the way the angel conveyed the message. Also, Mary's encounter with Elizabeth. As soon as Elizabeth hears Mary's greetings, the baby inside her jumps with joy. As communicators, those are the encounter. And how do we encounter others in our storytelling? This text illustrates the attitudes and dispositions in our communication and the feelings they evoke in recipients. I will now focus on communication as a bridge. On the other hand, at Pentecost, as the previous person who read us in prayer, at Pentecost, the Holy Spirit did not erase the difference of languages or culture. Instead, people from every nation had the same good news in their own language. Communication became the bridge that transformed diversity into communion. Does our communication help to build bridges in our engagement with others? That mission of communication being a bridge remains today. For those of us engaged in Catholic communication, storytelling is never merely about publicity. It is an act of service to the gospel. It helps people recognize God's presence in the world and reminds us that even in times of conflict, uncertainty, and suffering, grace continues to unfold quietly, often in places the headlines never reach. I will now focus on communication to provide hope. At the Conrad N. Hilton Foundation, we are committed to improving the lives of people living in disadvantaged situations around the world, often supporting often by supporting those on the margins. Conrad, a layman who was faith-filled, said, "If the strength of our faith has made possible a degree of success, I can think of no greater God-given responsibility we have than that of extending a helping hand to our fellow humans." A very blessed man, but left everything of his wealth, 97%, to the foundation. And he says, charity is the supreme virtue through which the mercy of God reaches to humankind. That vision of Conrad continues to guide our work, including our support of Catholic sisters, whose presence in the most underserved communities brings not only material assistance, but also restores dignity, hope, opportunity, and pathway to self-sufficiencies. There is not a single country in Africa and in the world that the resources from the Conrad N. Hilton Foundation has not touched. Stories from the margins should be told not from sensation, but to inspire hope, accompaniment, and life-giving action. I want to share with you a story that is disheartening, but also life-giving. I remember meeting a young woman whose life had been shaped by hardship from a very early age. She had been married at 13 to repay a small debt essentially sold into marriage for the equivalent of a few $100s. By 18, she had 3 children, and shortly thereafter, she was abandoned, left without support, without resources, and without a pathway forward. We talked about culture. That is a practice in our cultures, some of our cultures. When the Catholic sisters encountered this lady, she was in a fragile state, carrying not only the weight of her circumstances, but also the absence of possibility. They welcomed her, cared for her, and helped her to begin the long process of healing. We heard yesterday about trauma and the stories we can help these people to tell so that they can bring healing. And then, after accompanying her, they asked her a question that had never been posed to her before. What is your dream? It is a simple question, but for someone who has never been invited to have hope, to imagine of her own future, it is a profound one. Her answer was equally simple and yet deeply revealing. She said she wanted to become a beautician, not because she sought wealth or recognition, but because she wanted to make others feel beautiful. Even in the midst of her own suffering, her desire was directed outward, toward bringing joy to others. With the support of the sisters, she received training, began to build her life, and eventually established a small business. Today, she lives with dignity. Her children are in school, she has a home, and her future is no longer defined by her past. Her story is a reminder that hope is not something abstract or distant. It is something lived, something chosen, often in the very moment when we would be easiest to surrender to despair. And their stories, like this one, demonstrate the gospel lived and experienced through encounters of love, trust, hope, and courage by many of women religious who are serving in the margins. The stories we choose to tell matter. Too often, the public square is shaped primarily by stories of crisis, conflict, and failure. Communication from a Catholic perspective has an important responsibility to illuminate injustice, expose corruption, and give voice to those who suffer. We should never diminish that responsibility. But if those are the only stories we tell, we leave the world with an incomplete picture of our Catholic values. Our task is not to deny the darkness. Our task is to reveal the light and continues to shine within it. This is precisely where Catholic sisters have something unique to offer. Now I will focus communication to center those at the margin. The Pentecost Project started as an encounter, a dialogue, and fruits of this project are palpable globally. Centering voices of women religious serving in the margins of society, living at the core of the mission of Jesus, expressed in Gospel of Luke chapter 4, verse 18, to heal the brokenhearted, proclaim liberty to captives, recovery of sight to the blind, and setting the prisoners free. This is the vocation many women religious live every day, accompanying people in the margins where no one ever reaches there to tell their story. Around the world, sisters educate children who might otherwise never enter a classroom. They care for the sick where health systems have collapsed. They accompany migrants, refugees, and survivors of trafficking, and many others. They support women rebuilding their lives after violence. They remain present in communities affected by war, hunger, and natural disasters long after the cameras have disappeared. Yet, if we stop there, we misunderstand their vocation. Sisters do not simply provide services. They answer Christ's great commission to go and make disciples of every nation. Matthew 28, verse 19. Every classroom, every clinic, every counseling session, every visit to a refugee camp, and every act of accompaniment, give me a minute, sorry. I'm sorry. Thank you. Apologies for that. Yet, if we stop there, we misunderstand their vocation. Sisters do not simply provide services. They answer Christ's great commission to go and make disciples of all nations. Every classroom, every clinic, every counseling session, every visit to a refugee camp, every act of accompaniment is ultimately an expression of the gospel. The witness proclaims Christ not only through words, but through lives poured out in love and service. The social impact is extraordinary, but spiritual witness is even greater. The sisters remain after everyone else has gone home because Christ remains. They stay because the gospel does not abandon people when emergencies fade from public attention. They continue working with communities because God's love is not seasonal nor dependent on media attention. Their perseverance becomes a living proclamation that every person possesses a dignity as a child of God. This is why I often say that humility should never become invisibility. Catholic sisters has never sought recognition. Their vocation calls to humility, not the spotlight. Yet when their stories remain untold, the public square becomes poorer, not because sisters seek attention, but because the world loses witnesses of compassion and hope precisely where is most needed. Pope Leo XIV recently reminded communicators that we need faces and voices to speak to people again. That invitation resonates deeply with the vocation of Catholic sisters. Their lives give a human face to the gospel, and their voice reminds us that behind every statistic is a person created in the image of God. Our responsibility as communicators is not simply to tell stories, but to ensure that these faces and voices are neither forgotten nor replaced by narratives that overlook the quiet work of God's presence. Our experience continues to remind me why storytelling matters. Several years ago, I had the privilege of supporting the African Sisters of Education Collaborative, an initiative that strengthened educational opportunities for Catholic sisters in more than 10 countries across Africa through partnerships with over 26 colleges and universities across Africa. At first, some questioned whether such an ambitious vision could succeed. The distances were great, the resources limited, and the challenges significant. Just like someone said that communication needs resources, and sometimes those resources lack. Yet, the investment was never simply about educating individual sisters. It was about strengthening the women who would go to educate children, manage hospitals, lead schools, accompany vulnerable families, conduct research, advocate for justice, and build stronger communities. Today, the impact of the investment extends far beyond the sisters themselves. It reaches thousands of lives through ministries that continue to grow and impact local communities. And yet, very few people know these stories. That is why Pentecost Project, implemented by the Vatican's Dicastery for Communication, and Wisdom Course, implemented by SIGNIS, are so important. They remind us that communication is itself a ministry. When we amplify authentic voices, we build bridges with communities. When we tell stories responsibly and truthfully, we cultivate solidarity. When we allow those living on the margins to speak for themselves, we restore dignity and challenge the assumptions that often shape public discourse. At the Conrad N. Hilton Foundation, our partnership with the Dicastery for Communication, for example, reflects this conviction. We believe that telling stories of Catholic sisters and the people they serve is not simply about documenting successful programs. It is about revealing how faith continues to transform lives every day through quiet acts of fidelity that rarely make the evening news. Finally, communication as an act of love. At the foundation, Conrad wrote, and this continues to guide us, love one another, for that is the whole law. The peoples of the world deserve to be loved. never to be left to wander alone in poverty and darkness. This verse reminds us that poverty is not only material. There is also the poverty of invisibility, when entire communities and those who faithfully serve them remain unseen by the wider world. Storytelling becomes an act of love when it refuses to leave people in that darkness. It becomes an act of justice when it gives voice to those who are rarely heard. And it becomes an act of evangelization when it helps others encounter Christ through the witnesses of his disciples. As communicators, we are therefore called to be more than reporting events. We are called to discern where the Holy Spirit is already at work. We are called to recognize wisdom where the world sees only obscurity. We are called to amplify voices that reveal not only human resilience, but God's enduring presence among his people. Pentecost reminds us that the Holy Spirit made understanding possible across every language and culture. Our responsibility today is to continue that work, not by speaking louder, but by listening more deeply, telling stories more faithfully, and ensuring that quiet voices of those who live the gospel every day are heard clearly in the public square. And they act as a catalyst for transformation, embracing those who suffer, shifting the narrative about people experiencing disadvantage, and engaging others to take action and break down barriers to address this difficult situation. It is because when their stories are heard, the church is better understood. When their witness is seen, Christ becomes more visible. And when Christ becomes more visible, hope becomes contagious. It is my prayer that in our communication, that the stories we choose to tell, we can carry forward love, faith, hope, and courage as true disciples who work for the common good. And each of us is calling that right. Let's pass that right forward so that it burns and burns brightly, so that even those who are living in darkness can see the light through our storytelling. God bless you.
Thank you, Sister Jane Wakahiu, for these words. We thank you for reminding us that Jesus is our example when it comes to authentic communication. For your network, for the work you do, being the source of hope for the marginalized, and also for promoting the dignity of humanity, particularly women. For all that you have brought to those you have encountered, how your social presence is extraordinary, but your spiritual impact is enduring. Communication is a ministry, and the charge is that we should love one another. Shall we clap for her once again? If you are wondering why Sister Jane has to talk for long, it is because she is a principal speaker. The others have promised me that they will not do more than 10 minutes, so don't worry. May I now invite Sister Nina Krapich to talk to us. Sister Nina. Please, please.
Good morning. I hope you can see my presentation, or you should see. Okay. Good morning once more, everyone. I'm really happy to be here and to present the Pentecost project that was already presented in short by Sister Jane. So without knowing that Sister Jane had quoted the same sentence, I chose the sentence from Pope Leo's message for the 60th World Day of Social Communications because when I read it the first time, I said, okay, this is the sentence that could explain very well the intention behind this project that we have. We need faces and voices to speak for people again. Why? Because the current media environment is flooded with AI-generated content. It's flooded with hyper-production of content, and misinformation, disinformation, all leading to news avoidance and growing distrust in media, a lack of stories. We live in a time where we have crisis of narration, crisis of the lack of stories. Human stories that unites us around what bounds us together rather than what separates us. We need inspirational, educational stories that underline our shared humanity, that show us what our common ground is. And to tell the human stories, you need to know the human stories. And that's why we would need a very good investigative journalism on someone who really knows people well. And those stories are in the hands, in the hearts and minds of Catholic sisters. But to understand why is it even important to talk about the communication of Catholic sisters and why is it important to work on it, we first need to look at two realities. So first is the representation of Catholic sisters, how are they seen in the mainstream media, and the self-presentation of Catholic sisters. And the truth is that neither of these two works well. Why? Because the public narrative about Catholic sisters is still largely trapped within entertainment. Mainstream media, in many ways, has handed over the story of sisters to popular culture. So films such as Sisters Act or horrors as The Nun had shaped the collective imagination and has shaped the image of Catholic sisters. Media coverage often focuses on what is entertaining, as Sister Jane already said, unusual stories, scandals, conflicts, or more recently, sisters influencers. So we have most of recent stories which are hybrid. So what becomes viral in social media gets covered by the mainstream media. And only occasionally you can find a story about what sisters really do and the extraordinary work that they do all over the world. And what about our self-presentation? So unfortunately, we sisters often reproduce the same pattern. So the most viral accounts of Catholic sisters frequently show the same entertaining discourse. So we have millions of people who have seen dances and songs and games of Catholic sisters. And there's nothing inherently wrong with playing or singing, but if this becomes the dominant narrative, we have a problem. And we should ask ourselves important questions. And that is, why are we afraid to show our real life the way it really is? And do we selves believe how rich our life really is and that it can truly make a change if we communicate it the way it is? Catholic sisters are the pillars of Catholic Church, and they're the pillars of society itself. I think only in Rwanda there's about 4,000, if I'm right, Sister Jane? 4,000 Catholic sisters in Rwanda. Yep. If sisters stopped working for just 24 hours, many communities in the world would experience a serious social and spiritual crisis. In terms of stories and experiences that can be told, let's imagine what happens in just 24 hours in a single congregation in the world. So we have sisters working in hospitals, working in hospices, accompanying people in their final hours. We have sisters teaching in schools and universities, some working in urban slums, some educate fathers in remote villages on parenting, other accompany migrants and refugees, other work every day to prevent human trafficking. Some collaborate with governments and international institutions, some advocate for human dignity all the way to United Nations. Sisters are everywhere, and I would dare to say that religious life represents one of the most extraordinary human networks in the world. And what do these sisters hear? What comes to them in 24 hours in just one congregation? Well, they hear the deepest questions that humanity asks, and they accompany them in finding those answers. And this is what the church had done since it became. They hear questions about life, forming a family, education, how to discover one's vocation, questions about how to build healthy families, how to build a strong community, questions of elderly, their caregivers, sick and their families. They hear stories of persecution, migration, addiction, reconciliation, loneliness, and hope. They accompany people searching for meaning, searching for freedom, facing hard decisions, mourning losses, and rebuilding their lives. And imagine the conversation that these women experience every day. And imagine the experiences one congregation has just in one day. Sisters have direct access to the real questions of humanity. And together as a global community and part of the church, they also carry an extraordinary wealth of experience in responding to those questions. We have incredible theologians, doctors, nurses, professors. Now imagine unique perspective that sisters have. For sister, a refugee is not a distant news story. It is someone she accompanies until they stand on their own 2 feet and knows all about why they left, how's their family back home, how was the path, what are their dreams, what are their fears, and she knows how to help them in a practical way. The margins are not somewhere far away. They are in the center of life of every Catholic sister. And this gives sister a perspective that is profoundly different from anything you're going to read in the mainstream media. And we cannot reduce this reality to communicating dances. We cannot reduce it to a decorative role in the church. And we cannot decide to keep these stories for our own personal memory. Communicating reality that we live is not secondary to our mission, it is a central part of our mission. And above all, we communicate because we want to tell the story of God's love for the world. And that is exactly the vision behind this project. Not simply to teach the sisters about communication, but to help the church to discover the immense wealth that it already possesses in the Catholic sisters. Because when sisters begin to tell their stories, they do not only change the perception of religious life, they're changing the perception of margins. They're shifting the dominant narratives that often are the cause of marginalization, because without language, no one will move from the margins. They change perception of the church. They inspire. They're bringing something new and good into the media environment. And they offer the world something that it desperately needs, a perspective born from experience of self-giving and proximity to others. This project has 3 pillars. It consists in training and learning by doing. So in Vatican Media, every week we publish a story which is written by Catholic sisters and translated in 10 different languages. And we train sisters in communications in online courses and by providing 3 months internships in Vatican Media. And also every sister has a free subscription to L'Osservatore Romano, which is daily newspaper of the Vatican. So what we learned in these years with the project is that we understood that for creating a network of sisters, communicators, networking is extremely important. So putting together the sisters who meet in person and collaborate, connect them across congregations, across nations and cultures. And in different events and training, we connect them also to experts from different types of backgrounds to create conditions to collaborate with sisters. We understood that also formation needs to be super, super high quality. And that we need to provide a storytelling platform that will make possible that even hyper-local stories from every corner of the world can reach the global news site. And first few words about networking. So as you see, we like putting sisters together. This was during last year's Jubilee for Communications, where we gathered sisters who are active in communications and experts from all around the world to discuss about communications. We have heard incredible stories from sisters and what they do. Like Sister Norma, who works with migrants, especially with children in Mexican-US border, Sister Rosemary, who's literally saving the lives of young girls. Sister gather in events we organize. They gather for online webinars, for trainings. They listen to really high recognized experts from all around the world. We have here Sister Abby meeting Maria Ressa, Nobel Prize winning journalist from the Philippines. And even these days, we have gathered different sisters here and put together a media team. So they're here in the first row covering this event for the Vatican media with videos and articles and creating social media content. So trainings are fundamental for our project. Every year we have 3 months online trainings, and hundreds of sisters have been through the trainings. Every training course has about 100 sisters participants with all the parts of the world present. They're trained by renowned media professionals and professors, and they were trained in social media management, participatory journalism, institutional communication, and much more. So they learn how to write journalistic pieces, but what we focused on last 2 years is participatory journalism. So not to write about what we do, but to write about the margins while co-producing with the margins. So to give the stage to the marginalized communities to tell their stories with their own words and to be presented the way they want to be presented in the global media. And during the training, they usually work in groups, so they get to know each other, and that is how they create connections all over the continents. We now have over 260 alumni of the project. And this is the Padlet map of our last training course. So these are the places where sisters came from. So they were everywhere, from Siberia to Brazil to many African countries. And I wanted to show some feedbacks that we got. First, which I think is very important, one that we got from a sister who's in charge for institutional communication of her congregation. We understood that there's many sisters who get the roles to communicate for their congregations, but they feel as if they don't have enough tools to do it. They don't have enough support. So we always make sure that in trainings we cover basics of communication, strategic communication, institutional part of communication. So they feel empowered when they communicate on behalf of their congregation. And the second feedback is from Chris, and Chris was one of our teachers. In Training Sisters, we work with very broad spectrum of experts, journalists, filmmakers from all types of backgrounds. And in teaching participatory journalism, we collaborate with a London-based media company that produces documentaries for big media outlets as BBC, and they're really passionate about documentaries about human trafficking. So it's been really super enthusiastic when they got to meet each other, and they understood for the first time that there was a network of sisters all around the world in more than 100 countries working in preventing human trafficking. So in these types of collaboration, in bringing people from different environments, experts from different environments, we see that it's a win-win situation, because not only that the sisters learn, but media learn, filmmakers learn. They all have something to learn and collaborate in communications. And we recently received this mail, which I think talks a lot about the project. So it is a mail by a sister who was our participant in our program. And she says, "I want to thank you for your work in organizing and conducting our course. It was very important and useful time for me. I have a degree in journalism, but this course revealed a different ideal of journalism for me. I saw the ideal of journalism which I wanted to strive for in my service in the church and in my congregation. It was very important for me to hear the words that through journalism, you can show the action of God's mercy in the world. Those words touch my soul deeply. As you guess, journalism in my country is far from the ideal. For the past few years, journalism in my country has served a dictatorship. She comes from a really complicated political situation. Most of the journalism here is propaganda of violence. I want to be another voice in this noise of propaganda. Your words and examples really straightened me, thank you. I also want to share my joy with you. Our meeting at Pentecost Project inspired me to start a journalistic project in our diocese. I prepared, with the help of another sister, the first issue of magazine for sisters from our diocese. The first issue of the magazine was released a month ago digitally. Our course was an inspiration for me to realize this project. So this is something that we did not see for the first time. It's a reawakening of the passion to communicate, to create videos, movies, articles. And it's not the first time that we see other projects being born as a product of this project. And there's been numerous initiatives in congregations and by different sisters. So as I said, we have 3 months internship in the Vatican Media. Every year we choose 12 best candidates from the online course, and they come and stay at the Vatican Media. So during the internship, they work in their language section. Since we operate in more than 50 languages, they can work in all of these languages. They're working with the journalists of Vatican News, learning how to be in the newsroom, how to write up articles, how to conduct interviews, how to create multimedia content, and they see all the technological part of the production. And as I said, they create very valuable connections in the group and friendships and find partners to collaborate. These are just some of the stories that we have published recently. So we have diverse stories as advocate from Kenya, sisters who are working in health sector, sisters who are empowering Maasai girls, sisters who work with refugees, who work with fishers, incredible stories about Sister Rosemary in Uganda, sisters in Malawi, sisters who are opening schools in Kenya, sisters who serve in South Sudan, which is very important for us because in this diversity, a very special type of stories comes from sisters who are in war zones because they're active, and sisters decide to remain with the people during the war. So stories that we get from Ukraine and different war zones from Middle East from sisters are very exceptional because they have a perspective that, as I said, you cannot read in any other media. And besides the war zones, there are also sisters in catastrophes and crises all around the world, like now in earthquakes in Venezuela. Floods, earthquakes, they remain, whatever happens, they remain, and they can communicate what is really happening with the people there. How can we help? How can we prevent? They have enormous treasure of knowledge that they can share. And these stories are read in millions of readers, and they keep on growing, which shows us that these stories are very attractive, and we need to invest more in training of sisters, journalists and professional communicators and experts who can, with this particular sensitivity to religious life, report what our sisters are doing in every corner of the world. There are so many stories, so it would be very hard to mention all of them. But what we saw is that these stories are mobilizing because only with voices and faces we can truly communicate God's love, and we can create relationships. Mobilizing, in sense, when we publish something about sisters, we, or people who wrote it, get messages from different parts of the world of people who want to help. So there was one written by Sister Michelle, who is here, about a water pump missing. I think it was in Kenya, and a couple of weeks later they got a water pump. So we really see how these stories change hearts and mobilize people all around the world. So with this project, we're going towards long-term systematic changes, and we're trying to empower sisters to change the narrative and perceptions about the marginalized communities, but also about the Catholic sisters. We train them to start changes in the marginalized communities that they can then help with communication, because as I said, without communication, without changing the language, no one can get out from the margins. We are striving to provide the global platform so we can increase the influence and amplify the social change in narrative shifting movements. We are raising awareness to train sisters, so to position sisters as highly skilled experts and professionals in civil society and media environment, because there's no reason why sisters would not be interlocutors for any serious institution and media in the world, because they're absolutely everywhere. We're training them and connecting them to enhance the levels of collaboration with other church and civil and media organizations. And we're looking forward to increasing the numbers of sisters as representatives in leading and change-making positions in the church and civil society, because they really did deserve that. Thank you.
How I wish we would spend the whole day listening to our sisters. Are they not doing such a wonderful job? If they are doing such a wonderful job, what shall we do? Let us clap for them. Thank you, Sister Nina Krapich, for letting us feel and understand the practical aspect of the Pentecost project. Our sisters are the pillars of the Catholic Church. They are the ones telling the human stories. And they are the ones telling the whole world that God loves everybody. Shall we clap for them once again? He has chosen to be the blessed man among women. And so I'll now call on my brother Peter Montier-Vicenshai to speak to us.
Good morning, Muraho. It's a real pleasure being here in Rwanda with you all. It's a special privilege indeed that I'm able to be here to talk about Wisdom Calls. But before I do, I must say a big thank you to Sister Jane Wakahu, without whose trust we would not even have been able to start the first steps of this project. I would also like to thank Sister Nina Krapich, whose mentoring, guidance, and kind accompaniment has made myself personally take on this monumental project together with my fellow SIGNIS members. Grazie mille. At the danger of pointing out the obvious, I'm not a religious sister. Thank you, Father Coffey. But I've been privileged to have met them. The sisters that I've met, they've left their home, they've left their families. Many have left their countries to be among the poor, to be with the people of God. Through this project, I have also discovered that they walk the streets among children, very vulnerable, abused children. I've discovered that they climb mountains to feed refugees. I'm not a good Catholic by any means. So a lot of what I discovered are things that are completely opposite of what I had learned from mainstream media about religious sisters. So there are some foundations, I guess, perhaps challenges. I think pain points is probably the most accurate one, where wisdom calls emerged from. Firstly, the ordinary days as religious sisters. Your ordinary days are extraordinary to me. And I'm sure for many others, not just Catholics, but also many non-Catholics who have yet to discover what differences religious sisters make, how they make those differences, and to the lives of those most in need. They too will find your lives extraordinary. Second pain point, challenges. Sister Nina Krapich has already mentioned the situation in mainstream media, especially in the West. They've often underrepresented, misrepresented, and in the worst case, malrepresented the lives of religious sisters. Such media have often trivialized aspects of religious sisters' lives and pay little attention to the radical choices and commitments that they have made, and many of which I've been privileged to witness personally. Thirdly, at SIGNIS, we believe that by taking the synodal journey together, religious sisters and our members who work in and with secular media around the world, the stories of the sisters' mission and challenges that they face, the ongoing struggles and the successes can be told to those outside of the usual Catholic media audience, to those who most likely do not read Vatican media, Vatican News, or the Global Sisters Report. I and my fellow members at SIGNIS firmly believe that the sisters' stories and the wisdoms of their mission will inspire those outside the church, lead them to discover perhaps that what they do and what they outside the church consider the most important in their lives, in fact, intersect with those of the missions of religious sisters. That it is worth finding out more, and maybe, just maybe, that they will hear the calling from such wisdoms. Maybe they would want to join in meeting these challenges, maybe the ongoing struggles, and maybe share in the fulfillment of these missions. So, to complement the Pentecost Project, Wisdom Calls focuses on getting these stories out on secular media, on local media, on national and regional media, to find out, to discover globally, what will it take to have the stories of the sisters told in Good Morning TV, told in the evening news, with just as much importance as some billionaire making some statements. Most especially, I'm really privileged that the Sisters of Wisdom Calls, for the first time, they've given their time and made, for many of them, very long journeys to be here with us today in Kigali. So it is absolutely my privilege, and that is a word I don't use that often, to invite you all to listen to their stories at this plenary this morning from Sister Adelaide Ndilu, but also come to hear more in the breakout session this afternoon, because while this project calls on SIGNIS, SIGNIS alone cannot succeed. So, Sister Adelaide Ndilu. Thank you.
morning, everyone in the room. Are you good? I'm very happy and extremely excited to stand here. First of all, my name is Sister Adelaide Ndilu, and I am the project coordinator of SIGNIS Wisdom Calls. And my simple task is to connect sisters with the secular media to be able to tell their stories. And so far, what we've been able to do, I'm speaking from the African context, we've been able to get sisters from around Africa, a few selected countries from around Africa. And we had our first meeting in Kenya, Mombasa, and it was all about telling them capacity building of how they can tell their stories. And this time, not so much with the church media, but with secular media. We believe that somehow, to a certain extent, followers of church media or audience of church media somehow know what the sisters do. But when we come to secular media, we ask ourselves, do they know exactly what the sisters do? I had prepared a speech here, and because much has been said, my colleagues here allow me to show you videos of sisters and what they do covered by the secular media. And the first one is by Sister Caroline Gatia. She's here with us, how she deals with street children known as Dorothea Rescue Center.
Now, the following story is a story that's very close to my heart because I actually got to spend time with these children. And if you're a parent or you've interacted with children, you do know, and of course this is common knowledge, that children are children and they should just be allowed to be that. Now, Nairobi street children, often labeled chokora, are easily recognized by their sacks slung over their backs as they sift through trash or weave between cars, hands outstretched for spare change. Among them are girls disguised as boys for protection. Tonight, we delve into the heartbreaking reality of these forgotten daughters battling hunger, fear, and unimaginable dangers. At Dorothea Rescue Center in Tala, they find refuge, healing, and a chance to reclaim their stolen childhoods. Join us as we uncover their journey from survival to renewal and the heroes making it possible.
Part of the chaotic streets of Nairobi and other adjacent cities, young girls, some as young as 4, scavenge through overflowing dustbins in search of scraps of discarded food. The usually frail street children clutch small bottles of glue, inhaling the thick toxic substance that helps numb their trauma and disguise their hunger. They bear the ravages of the weather, from the scalding hot sun during the day to the biting cold of the night, their small bodies enduring the extremes without mercy. In these very same streets, fate in the form of sisters from Our Lady of Assumption Dorothea Rescue Center intervene. With gentle hands and open hearts, they continue to pull these children from the cold, unforgiving streets into a sanctuary that offers safety and care. These are the lived experiences of girls who have lived on the streets of Nairobi and beyond.
Kenye mimi nilifanya nitoke kwetu ni kitu moja, vile tulikuwa tunaishi kwetu, mamangu na babangu walikosana. Mamangu akaolewa na baba wa kambo. Babangu akakuwa wazimu, akapelekwa Kenyatta. Baba wa kambo, mimi vile kama tuseme kwa mfano, sijua kuna kitu inaniingilianga na toroka kwetu. Nikishatoroka tuseme kwa mfano, leo nikitoroka mamangu alikuwa ananifunga. Mamangu nikirudi nyumbani ananifunga na nyororo. Na nikaanza kutoroka kwetu. Nikaanza kukaa base. Vile nakaa base, nikaanza base ya Tao Tomboya. Vile nilikaa base, nilikuwa nalala kwa gunia. Nikiamka asubuhi napigwa na mapolisi. nilikuwa nateswa.
Mimi story yangu nilizaliwa kwa street na nikalelewa kwa street. Nilitoka Beza Tomboya Street na nilikuwa na duru. Kuduru ni kubeg, ile yenye unakaribia mtu unamwambia brother nisaidia at least na kakumi ninunue chakula. Ama sometimes unaenda unauza sweet kwa jam. It was a very hard life. Kwanza kama wewe msichana you face some challenges like kama wewe una hiyo protection unakaa tu hivyo. Sometimes ilikuwa unaona chakula kushibishi, kuna ile utama ya kuninio drug. Kuna yenye tulikuwa tunatumia sana iko common inaitwa MC ni yenye iko wanakupimia kwa chupa alafu unaweka kwa kitambaa alafu una inhale. Kukitumia huko una feel njaa sana.
Siku mamangu alinifukuza kwa nyumba akaninyima chakula, nikaokota kwa matakataka chakula.
The stories told by the children are heart-wrenching.
My mother died, my father left, and I am just staying with my grandmother. My grandmother, she's not stable. You see, I used to have a lot of pain inside me. I just decided to run away from my family. I went to the street. I used not to stay with people. I was just rude, bad. I paid a bus from Nairobi, Dandora, to Machakos. And that time, I'm a kid. I don't supposed to be alone in a bus. I was taken to a police station and I slept in a jail for one good week.
Each one a painful testament to the weight of the trauma they have lived through.
Bezi ni maisha mbaya sana. Hakuna blanketi, hakuna chakula tunaenda tunarokota dustbin. Chakula yenye watu wamebakisha tunachukua tunakula. Kwa maana sasa hadi tumbo inatuma. Tulikuwa tunalala kwa gunia hadi mvua ikinyesha inatunyeshea. Tulikuwa tunajifunika na blanketi yetu, tulikuwa tunaita gunia.
Ukiingia ulale hapo ndani, sometimes polisi wanakuja wanakuni street, wanakupiga, wanawafukuza.
Yet there is a glimmer of hope in their words.
Nilikuwa nasoma na nilikuwa kwa mtihani number 1.
I hope to join Alliance Girls, and on my career STEM, I choose a doctor. I hope to join that school. It is from my heart.
A longing for love, for safety, for the simple joy of being a child again.
I would like to tell them that they be close to their kids first, and they learn how to talk to their kids. They know what is disturbing them, because for me, even it's not like we are lacking anything that much, but I just ran away because I had no one to talk to me, no one to hear me. I would like to tell them that they be close to their kids first, and they learn how to talk to their kids. They know what is disturbing them, because for me, even it's not like we are lacking anything that much, but I just ran away because I had no one to talk to me, no one to hear me.
At Dorothea Rescue Center, the children undergo rehabilitation during the first few months.
Life in Dorothea starts from the streets. We go to the streets, we visit them like three times in a week, and then we bond with these children, we bond with the girls, and they know us, and then from there, we bring them here. So the first day is shaving, showering, because some of them have been, maybe they have lice in the head, they are very dirty. And then there is now the detachment from street to now rehabilitation. So that action is very important. So they take, we lit the fire, and then they take their clothes and burn them to say that now they are detaching themselves from the street life to new life here in Dorothea. Sometimes girls disguise themselves to look like boys. They would dress like boys because of what and the torture they go through on the streets. It's a little tough on them. What they do, they sleep like 5 girls inside one sack to protect each other because of the abuses that are happening on the streets.
The girls follow a detoxification protocol to recover from the substances they consumed on the streets.
Most of these children have been using drugs on the streets. So they use jet fuel, they use gum, they use cocaine, They even use bangi on the streets. So they are already intoxicated. So after 21 days, now we go home to do home tracing because we must get consent, we must look for their parents for them to allow them to be here. And then we also start informal learning meaning to start introducing them back now to studying. So they stay here for 3 months to 6 months, depending with each case. After that now, we enroll them now to the mainstream schools and we pay for their school fees. And currently we have 43 girls that are in boarding schools. We have 15 that are in day school, and now we have the 10 girls just we rescued 2 weeks ago.
The center provides them with a safe shelter, education, healthcare, and vocational training to ensure their economic independence. After that, they are reintegrated to the society through home placement, boarding schools, or networking with other programs.
When you rescue a girl child, it's a total transformation, 100% transformation. There is no relapse.
The Dorothea Rescue Center has launched agricultural initiatives to cover operational costs. Dorothea Rescue Center, in partnership with Windsor Golf and Country Club, will hold a charity golf tournament on Friday, the 28th of March 2025, to raise funds in support of street girls' education and the construction of hostels. You are invited to buy a plate and save a street girl.
Now, the following story is a story that's very close to my heart because
Thank you very much. So as we have seen, sisters are on the front lines doing what they know best: healing, educating. They accompany the poor. They defend human dignity. They are storytellers of mercy, but too often their stories are told about them, not by them. And now I would want us also to watch another story by Sister Teresa. And as we watch that, it was covered by a secular media also in Kenya. I will call her here to come and tell us the challenges that she has as we watch the story by Sister Teresa. Okay, I'm being told time is not on our side, and probably we can post the clip to our social media and we'll be able to watch. Meanwhile, Sister works in Samburu, northern Kenya. The people in Samburu say they are not in Kenya because it's a very difficult area, and she has challenges that she'll be able to share with us. Sister, you have only 2 minutes, so that I'll be able also to invite Pam to talk to us. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sister Teresa, as you have heard. The Sisters of Mary Immaculate of Nyeri, currently doing Christ Mission in northern part of Kenya, that is Samburu County. What we are doing there, maybe if I can be brief on what we do there, and giving my story, is that Samburu County is so much rooted in culture, and therefore, rooted in culture is not bad. However, the culture, they have harmful cultural practices there. Some of these harmful cultural practices are bidding, FGM, forced child marriage, and gender-based violence. Maybe to talk briefly, bidding is a way of maybe a girl child is booked only for sex. You are a girl child of age of 7 to 8 years. It's a culture that dictates that child can be booked or rather engaged for sex alone. And this is done by Morans. Morans are the warrior in that society. I know those who are aware, know about Samburu County, you can follow me and you can see that is exactly what happens. So these girls, when they reach 8 years, then they are passed through the stage of breeding, that is being exposed to sex alone. Then they go to another stage of FGM. They are done the cut. They are done female genital mutilation. And this is done at the age of 9 or 10. Then from that age, the girl is forcibly given out for marriage. And this is done by the parents, by the way, because the girl has no power to select or to choose the suitor. But the parents themselves do that. The community themselves do that. However, when the sisters were sent in that community, we felt we cannot sit on the fence and watch the rights of the children, the dignity of human beings being violated. And therefore, the sisters there, we took the opportunity, we risked, and told these children, if it happens to you, can you come and see us? So we started seeing girls coming in. Sisters have been given off for marriage, and then I've decided to run. And so that's how we started the rescue center, whereby currently, the rescue center, as we talk, I have 103 girls who are inside the center, giving them protection and safeguarding, and also empowering them. Then, intending to reintegrate them back to the community. The most challenge we have is reintegration, or rather, though, even if there are other challenges in between, especially sustaining them, the process of maybe rescuing them, of which we, the sisters, are not the ones who are directly rescuing them, but good thing we have cooperated with the government, so the government do the rescue work through police officers, the chief, even themselves, the girls themselves sometimes do rescue themselves. They run away from the so-called marriage life. So they run away and come to us. So when they come to us, we start the procedure of now doing the legal way of taking them to the court, of course, so that we can be given court committal order to stay with these girls. After they come, remember, these girls are rescued sometimes when they have flesh wounds because of the cut. So this cut, we must take the responsibility of knowing how to go through the process of taking them to the hospital, healing, taking them, also traumatized, not only physical cut, or other, not only physical pain, but also psychological pain. So that is what we do. The most challenge we have, maybe with my 2 minutes is almost over, my 2 minutes is almost over, is reintegration. Today, our government is dictating we reintegrate back the children to the community, to the society, of which it has never been possible. We have tried to mobilize the community to create the awareness. Like last year in December, I traced 30 families wanting to reintegrate back their children to the community through the help of police officers and chiefs. However, it was not possible. When they went back, when they went home, they came back after 2 weeks, all of them pregnant. Simply because at least the girls of 13 years, 12 years, 15 years below. So they came, not all of us, all of them, but 10 of them came pregnant out of 30. So even today I have them, I'm hosting them, and for sure they are supposed to give birth this month or next month. Yet their families are not ready to receive them back again. So it becomes a challenge. However, through the support of Hilton Foundation, we have come up with a network we call Nuru Sisters Network, which we get help and through Sister Jane, who is here with us, Nuru Sisters Network of 7 congregations who do such work. And so through that, we are able to mobilize the community, create awareness, and that has become more, maybe easier for us to start creating that bond between a child and the parents. The story is too much, but I know my time is up. Maybe we can talk later, maybe outside there, if you want to know more about what we do in Samburu County. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sister Teresa. As I indicated earlier, we needed a whole day to listen to these sisters of ours, but we still have the opportunity to engage them even if we go out. May we now listen to the last person, Pamela Aleman.
Buenos dias. Good morning. I am delighted to share with you very quickly our experience in Wisdom Calls Latin America. A psychologist accompanying grieving families in the mining communities of the Bolivian Andes. An IT professional empowering girls from marginalized communities with digital skills that are opening doors to education and opportunity. A therapist leading support groups for madres buscadoras, or searching mothers, looking for their disappeared children in Mexico. These are just 3 out of 11 stories from the extraordinary, courageous, and brave women that I had the honor to accompany during the Latin American edition of Wisdom Calls. I get very excited, as you can see. For 3 whole days, I had the privilege of being in a room with 11 remarkable sisters. They're courageous, they're brave, and they go to work every single day, and they do it quietly, but they make a profound difference in the lives of the people in the communities that they serve. What I witnessed was literally a transformation. We watched these women who were strangers to each other. They were hesitant, they were curious, and they didn't know really what they were there to do. And we watched them transform and take ownership of their stories and discover the power and the beauty of their own voices. As the hours went by, they wrote and then rewrote their stories. And then they shared them in a trusting and safe space that we had created. And then something extraordinary happened. We listened, we could hear a pin drop in that room. We reflected, we hugged, we laughed, and we cried together. Their stories of courage and resilience and compassion remind us why Wisdom Calls really matters. The true impact of this project is sharing those powerful stories that deserve to be heard with the rest of the world, and sharing them with audiences that go far outside beyond the Catholic Church. I'm talking about the story of that young psychologist who walks to the mining towns of the Andes in Bolivia to accompany the widow and the young children of a 20-year-old miner called Jose. Jose left for work one morning, and he never came home. I learned through the tears of our sister that the life expectancy of a miner in a mining town in Bolivia is only 30 years old. Today, in the world today, young men either die crushed in the mines due to the awful working conditions, or they die of mal de mina, which is a mine illness, when their lungs collapse and they can't breathe anymore from the fumes that they breathe. Or also the story of the sister who rows in a makeshift boat along the river to a small incommunicated community. Access to that community is blocked by the guerrilla, and they're starving. They have no food and no money. And sister collects goods throughout the week and clothing for the families. Every week, she makes the trek at night to deliver the goods to the community. If she's found, she'll be killed on the spot. So she packs her little boat with her treasures and rows along the river, week after week. Or also the story of another sister who accompanies a group of mourning mothers whose children have disappeared without a trace at the hands of the narcos in Zapopan, Jalisco, in Mexico. They all gather at a safe house at 5 a.m. before sunrise.
a group of volunteers bring them a cup of coffee. And before they start another day of unimaginable uncertainty, they all pick up a shovel and they go to the place where they have received an anonymous tip that perhaps the body of their children will be there in a mass grave. And they dig to find them and bring them home. These are really the stories that we're talking about today in Wisdom Calls. The real stories, stories that need to be told. And we can all help, all of us here can help our sisters tell those stories. We are the SIGNIS family. And I'm sure that in this room today, every single one of us knows someone who can help us tell those stories in the mainstream media so the world knows what a group of heroes our sisters really are. So let's inspire people beyond our circles. Please visit our SIGNIS website. You can see the stories of our sisters there. And I have better news for you. These incredible women are with us in Kigali. We have sisters from Asia, sisters from Africa, and sisters from Latin America participating in Wisdom Calls. And they're going to be there tonight or this afternoon at 3 p.m. In our breakout session for Wisdom Calls. Come out and support them. Let them know that you care. They really love to know that you care about the beautiful mission that they have in this world. So please join us 3 p.m. boardroom number 5 for the Wisdom Calls workshop. And thank you all for your attention. And please join me in clapping for all those that make Wisdom Calls happen. Thank you.
I don't want to get emotional, so I'll be strong. So we have listened to true human stories shared with us, especially through the work of our sisters and with support from Conrad and Hilton Foundation. Sisters Jane, Nina, Adelaide, our sister Pamela, and the man who has chosen to be the only blessed one among the women, Peter. We are grateful. Shall we clap for them once again? Coming from Ghana, I can tell you the impact your support is making through Kali Sisters Network in Ghana. Once again, we say thank you. God bless you. So it's now time for us to have a health break. We have been sitting for over 2 hours now. We'll step out to the various places, where we go up and here for the health break. Because of time, please, if we can spend 15 minutes as we stretch and take something in, we want to be back to this place for the second session at 10 minutes past 12. 10 minutes past 12. So please, let us try and be on time. Shall we clap for our panelists as they step down from the podium?